Hey, this is Mark. Let me start with the question that sits at the center of my current research. What if many women diagnosed with panic disorder, agoraphobia, or treatment-resistant anxiety are not experiencing anxiety in the way we think they are? What if the symptoms we're labeling as panic are actually sensory shutdowns? And what if the emotional collapse we call depression is actually a very specific form of autistic burnout caused not by hopelessness, but by chronic cognitive overload and masking? So today I want to unpack a critical diagnostic blind spot: undiagnosed autism in females and the profound consequences of symptom misinterpretation. So to start off with, I want to talk about the sensory shutdown versus panic attack confusion. In clinical settings, panic attacks are typically described as sudden surges of fear accompanied by physiological symptoms, for example, racing heart, shortness of breath, dizziness, a sense of impending doom. But here's the contradiction I'm exploring. Many autistic women experience overwhelming physiological distress without fear being the primary driver. Instead, what's happening is sensory overload, auditory saturation, visual clutter, tactile overwhelm, social input exceeding processing capacity. So when the nervous system can no longer integrate incoming stimuli, it doesn't escalate into panic, it shuts down. But from the outside, this shutdown can look like avoidance of public places, sudden need to escape, freezing or dissociation, physical collapse or withdrawal. Clinically, this often gets labeled as agoraphobia or acute anxiety. But internally, the experience is very different. This isn't fear of danger, it's neurological overload. The body isn't saying, I'm unsafe, it's saying, I can't process any more input. So now I want to talk about why sensory sensitivity is mistaken for anxiety disorders. Here's where the misdiagnosis deepens. Many autistic women report, I don't feel afraid, I feel exhausted. I'm not panicking, I'm overloaded. I don't want to avoid life, I just can't tolerate the stimulation. But diagnostic frameworks often fail to distinguish between fear-based avoidance and capacity-based avoidance. So when a woman avoids crowded spaces, clinicians often assume anxiety, trauma, or panic disorder. What's rarely assessed is sensory processing capacity, especially in women who are verbally fluent, highly empathic, socially compliant, and academically capable. Their internal distress is discounted because their external functioning looks intact. Now let's talk about masking. Masking is not just trying to fit in. It's continuous cognitive labor. It requires monitoring facial expressions, suppressing stems, translating social cues, managing tone and posture and eye contact, and regulating sensory discomfort invisibly. Now, over time, this creates a form of burnout that's often misdiagnosed as major depressive disorder. But autistic burnout is not depression. Here's the difference. Depression is characterized by loss of interest, loss of mood, hopelessness, and emotional numbness. Autistic burnout is characterized by sudden loss of functional skills, extreme fatigue unrelieved by rest, heightened sensory sensitivity, reduced verbal capacity, and increased shutdowns or meltdowns. Now listen, many women in autistic burnout still want to engage with life, but they lack the neurological capacity to do so. The issue isn't motivation, it's system overload. So clinically, why is this being missed? A major factor is diagnostic bias. Autism research and diagnostic criteria were historically based on young boys, externalizing behaviors, and observable social deficits. Most clinicians are still relying on outdated behavioral checklists that fail to capture internalized distress, compensatory social strategies, and gendered social conditioning. Even current diagnostic frameworks, such as the DSM-5, are limited in their sensitivity to female presentations of autism. Women are more likely to mask effectively, to internalize distress, to be labeled anxious, perfectionistic, or high-strung, and to receive multiple psychiatric diagnoses without symptom resolution. And this creates a diagnostic gap where autism is never considered, only treated indirectly, and often unsuccessfully. So why does this distinction matter? Well, this isn't just an academic issue. When sensory shutdowns are treated as panic attacks, exposure therapy can worsen symptoms. Medication can blunt awareness but not reduce overload. The person learns to distrust their own nervous system. And when autistic burnout is treated as depression, rest is prescribed without reducing demands. Masking continues, and recovery never fully occurs. But when autism is correctly identified, sensory accommodations become possible, masking can be reduced, and self-understanding replaces self-blame. So diagnosis doesn't limit, it liberates. So if you're a clinician or a researcher or a woman questioning her lifelong diagnoses, here's the key takeaway. Not all anxiety is fear-based. Not all exhaustion is depression. And not all avoidance is psychological. Sometimes the nervous system is doing exactly what it's designed to do, protect itself from overload. So recognizing autism in females isn't about adding another label. It's about finally using the right lens. Now, if this resonates with you, subscribe for more research-based discussions on neurodivergence, misdiagnosis, and recovery beyond masking. And remember, understanding changes everything. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you.